Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Sunday here in the States. And I just want to say happy Labor Day to everybody for tomorrow here in the States. And happy Monday to anybody joining us from in the international world of Canada, Germany, London, where have you. Today, I'm really excited to have Jen Nyx on. She's an award-winning real estate agent, and she's the mother of two beautiful daughters, and she's a wonderful soul and great energy. So I would like everyone to say good morning to Jennifer Nyx.
Good morning, world.
How are you today?
Good. How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. So, when people think real estate, it's one of those situations where that's a high stress job. People don't really realize, oh, you're just finding me a house, but there's a lot to it because you run into a lot of personalities. You run into your clients themselves and what they need. You run into the other party and what they want, and then you have new construction. So sometimes you're running
Mm.
into thousands of contractors and subcontractors, and you're just like, who's on first and what's happening right now? So
Yeah, that's for sure. It's not really peaceful. It doesn't sound really peaceful, and it's
no,
not.
it doesn't, especially when you step back and look at it from
Yeah,
the broad perspective.
yeah. Real estate is certainly not a peaceful world at all in any way, shape, or form. You
So
you got that right.
So, kind of like walk us how you ended up in real estate and kind of like how it can how you find peace in all of the
Mhm.
personalities you deal with.
Okay. Hmm. Well, let's see. That's kind of a long story, but I'll make it short. So, how I was always intrigued by real estate for sure. Just, the concept of, you really, how can I say this? Real estate really isn't that glamorous, but I guess in my mind, I thought, oh, it would be such a glamorous job and so fun and interesting. And, it's not that it's not. It's just that there's so many levels and layers to the business. And I think, my past history or my past careers has led me to a successful real estate career. So I was a secretary for many years, about 13 years. I worked for a construction company when I was much younger. So there was really uniqueness to that as well, because that wasn't as glamorous either, working with, men all the time. It was like 95% men. And so I kind of learned to be a little tough with that. I have to say, my dad's an old school Italian, and he instilled a lot of toughness in me as well. I was always I'm 4'11, so I was always on the petite side. And my father would say to me, "Don't let anybody mess with you." So I would to say, so that alone, and I had two older brothers. I'm sorry, look, my little chihuahua just popped.
I saw one.
I was gonna say she might make an appearance. She might, come in and out. We'll see how that goes. Um, but yeah, so I was at secretary for many years. I was also a personal trainer. I was in the matchmaking industry
Oh,
for
that
quite
must
a
have been
bit.
interesting.
Yeah, so that was unique. I've always been in the relationship business. I worked in the jewelry business. Let's see, I also worked at a private business school for over 10 years as a director of career services. So I've always been in the relationship business, and I've always been surrounded by a lot of people, a lot of people. It was never just a job where I was constantly communicating with people all day long. So real estate kind of just happened. I after my mom passed, well, before my mom passed, my mom my mom used to always feel, you should get into real estate, you should get into real estate. It was interesting how she was always intrigued with the idea of me being a real estate agent, and my wife as well. And I just thought, how will I ever find time to do this? I had two young children. Both of my parents ended up becoming ill, and so they needed a lot of attention. And I just couldn't figure out how this could actually ever happen. But it wasn't until soon after that my mom passed, and I was so distraught with her loss, so completely distraught. My wife had stated to me that, you really should get into real estate. Your mom always wanted you to do this. So my wife actually paid for the real estate course, and she told me not to tell anybody. Can't tell anybody you're doing this, because she knew I'd probably get distracted. And I took an in person real estate course. It's a 75-hour course, but it was in person. And honestly, I was excited about it. I was intrigued. But I was working a full time job. I was still working a full time job. And I got into real estate. And the first year, I sold a few houses. I thought I was cool. I was like, hey, I'm making some extra money. And that alone just made me happy. And then 4 years later, I feel bad, Janice. The story's going to get a little bit longer, okay?
It's okay. It's okay.
So 4 years later, I was still doing real estate, making a little money here and there, thinking I was a hot shot. That year, I made like $40,000 plus. I had a full time job, so that was really, really helpful for my family. With the girls, one of them was in college at the time, so it's really, really helpful. So at that time, we decided that we wanted to make a complete shift change. And I wanted really more peace in my life. And everything always felt so chaotic. I had this job that was so demanding, and I really loved it. I really love working with people. I love people. I love helping people in any capacity. So at that job, I really, really enjoyed it. But it was difficult and daunting because um, you know, my income was determined on, is someone's thought of what I should be paid. So I was really, really working hard, and I would have to ask for a raise. There was just like a constant ceiling of how much I could actually earn. And, it's sad to think that, we work, and, we have to equate that to what our income is, right? There's like an uncomfortability because we all feel that we're worth so much more. And I believe that everybody is. I'm
Yeah.
the only me I'll ever be. So I know what effort I put into my job. But I was always felt a little stuck. I always felt that I was worth more. So with that, we decided to sell our house, and we were buying a new construction house. And I really wanted to downsize. Like, we had a really big house. We had 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, the in-ground pool, I mean, beautiful. It was beautiful, luxurious landscaping. But I just always felt in that house, I felt like just it was too much. It was just so, for me, it was just too much to clean, just too much to think of. I pull up in front of my house, and like, there's so much to do. And I just felt I wanted a complete shift change. And I have to say, my wife and the kids were all along for the change, and we were building a new construction house. So it was really exciting. It was an exciting time. We're building a new construction house. And at the same time, actually, not at the same time, we waited a couple months. We put the house up for sale. So now we put the house up for sale. The house sells quick. It's 2021. It's like the second year of the pandemic. Like a crazy time, but exciting in essence for real estate because things were moving fast.
Yep.
So we thought that our house would be ready in like 3 weeks, our new construction house, and that wasn't happening. So
Oh, no.
yeah, we were really like the house was being constructed. Let me see, it was October, November, December, January. So it was like 3.5 months already. And there was a promise that it would be ready. Well, it wasn't, but we had buyers for our house. And what were we going to do? So I came up with this brilliant idea that we should move into a hotel, and that we'll wait until the house is ready. It should only be about a month. It should just be like a month tops. It was like this,
Yeah.
I'm a salesperson. I convinced everyone in my house that this was a great idea, right? I persuaded everyone, like, yeah, this will be fun. We'll go in the hotel. So what happened? We ended up in the hotel. Now we couldn't use the pool. We couldn't use, the gym. The continental breakfast was just muffins. There was nothing hot anymore. So it's just like, okay, it wasn't a big deal. These aren't real problems. And we move into the hotel. And 3 months later, we're still in the hotel. My brilliant idea that we would only be there for 3 weeks or a month didn't work. We were paying $6,000 a month in this hotel.
Oh my goodness.
'Cause what do you pay in a hotel, right? So it's expensive when you times it by 30 days. And we each had separate rooms. My wife and I had a room, the girls had their own room, and we had our 2 dogs too. So we were living in this hotel, and it was a little, hotel life is kind of unique. We came from like a 4,000 square foot home, and now we're living in this little tiny, and I kind of
Tiny box.
loved it. I kind of liked it. I felt it was kind of hey, this is cool. We're kind of roughing it. And I just felt like less someone's cleaning the room all the time, like the things like that. But so it was,
That's where I'm at. I don't
yeah,
wanna clean.
somebody's cleaning up after us. Like I like this. But there's really no, like, you couldn't really go anywhere. Like, it was just a one big room. So what happened was we went to go see our new construction house. But mind you, we're just going to backtrack a little bit. When we were going through that, I decided, you know what, this is crazy with the amount of money we're going to spend. And we were paying $1,500 a month in storage. So now we're at $7,500 a month. Where's this money coming from? And like I said, with my brilliant idea, I was like, I have got to make a shift change. So I doubled down on real estate. I started working with other agents. And I'm not going to lie, I had almost no peace in my life at that point. It was crazy, chaotic. It was a shift change. I felt like a lunatic. I felt I was getting a little bit down on myself. And I'm thinking, I knew we couldn't live in a hotel forever. I knew we would eventually have a house, but we were really actually homeless. So we went to go see our new construction house on a Saturday morning. And we were so excited because they just finished the floors. And we're like, this is happening. Like, we're going to move in next week. We are just so excited. But I kid you not, Janice, by that afternoon, hours later, our new neighbor, her name was Betty. She's so sweet. She lived across the street. We became friendly. She called to tell me that our new construction house was on fire.
Oh
And
my goodness.
yeah, it was on fire. She's like, Jennifer, I even have the message still. Jennifer, your house is on fire. I'm like, what? I
Oh
was
my
like, what
goodness.
is happening? So my wife and I got in the car, and I had no idea what to expect. I had no idea what was going to be happening. No, maybe a little fire. The house was destroyed in a fire. It was horrifying. You know, I couldn't believe there was fire trucks all over. The street was blocked off. It was absolutely horrifying. I mean, it just was terrible. So when we got there, the police started questioning us. We're like, this is our house. This is our house. And I didn't realize he separated us, and they were questioning us because I guess they thought we
Yeah,
created
arson.
the we created the fire. And I was
No,
like,
you don't understand. We wanna move in.
yeah, it was like we didn't do. It wasn't until afterwards I'm like, wait a minute, we were questioned. They thought we set this fire, right? So craziness. My daughters were like, what are we going to do? I'm like, well, what we're going to do is everybody's going to eat whatever they wanted. I ordered sushi, whatever, whoever wants to drink and drink. I could care less. It's at this point, it's like,
This is where we're at.
yes, it's like, doesn't matter. And I will tell you, I cried myself to sleep that night. Like, I didn't even want anyone to see me crying because I felt embarrassed. Like, I didn't create this, but I felt like, what did I just do? What did I do to my family? But there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Nobody was injured, no one was hurt. We're still in a very good financial position. It was very daunting. It was just uncomfortable. But I knew everything would be okay because somehow everything just works out. And if you know me well enough, I say this to people. I send text messages to clients. Somehow it will work out the way it needs to. Don't worry. I just always feel it could, time's only going to move forward. It can only get better if we want it to, if we will it and we want it. And you can't you just have to go with everything. To me, there's energy flow. You just always have to move forward. So the good news is we ended up finding a new house, another new construction house. We ended up spending $35,000 more in the new house because the market changed. We still are owed money from the previous
Previous
builder
one.
because we're working with a new builder at this point now. We ended up, so I'm going to focus on all the good now. It took another 3 months, so we were in a hotel for 6 months. So a lot of money spent, like $7,500 a month, not including food and all that other fun stuff. But during that time, I never worked as hard as I did. And I wasn't upset about it. I knew there was a goal in mind, and I knew that real estate was going to afford me an opportunity to create, income that I could not have created at my other job. I could not have just asked for more money because I wanted it or felt I needed it. And I have to say, my income increased exponentially that year. I mean, that year I made $165,000 in real estate, which was crazy. Like the year before, I was like, and I was still working another job. So that was a tough year. Oh, I also gained 30 pounds that year. That wasn't really exciting. It's like I ate my feelings. I can eat my feelings. So that I will tell you.
Mm.
So because of that, I made a complete shift change and stopped working in the corporate world. And I decided to work, full time as a real estate agent, which was kind of frightening because I felt like, wait a minute, I still
You
have to
gotta hustle
continue to
now.
do this. Yeah, but my wife was supportive and the kids are like, you could do this, mom, um, and I haven't looked back. So this is my second full time year as a real estate agent. So that's really how I became a full time real estate agent. And what's crazy is it's like I turned a tragedy into a triumph. And I lost 20 pounds already. So I still got 10 more.
Awesome. Michael, he says, "Good morning." He says, "Hi."
Good morning, Michael. How you? Oh, I just saw Mike the other day, right?
Yes, you did.
He's a great guy. You guys are a power couple. I'm going to interview the both of you next time, but that's another story.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So now you're year 2, and you've been through a lot. You've been through a lot, and that's just a little section of your life. You've been
Little
and we all
snippet.
have those we all not I don't wanna say suffer, we all survive moments in time like that.
Hmm.
Multiple. It's kinda like loss. You lost your mom, loss of a good friend, change, it's
Hmm.
like it's scary, but you also kind of, like, mourn that loss. It's like you leave a job with people you love, but you know you can't stay.
Right. Understood. Hmm.
So you've taken this tragedy, you've turned it into a triumph, and so now big question is how do you find peace for yourself?
Well, that's a great question. So, you know, I always felt that I was somewhat peaceful, but I mean, if you know me, I'm an active person. I'm not a quiet person. I'm a chatty person. But I have to say, throughout the years, and especially with the pandemic, I've made a lot of drastic changes in my life in terms of relationships. And I didn't realize I was already like on a shift change in terms of what I would allow in my life, how I would allow myself to be treated, how I would allow people to speak to me. I kind of really felt that I started to announce, or in my mind to think like, they don't have permission to treat me this way. They don't have permission to talk to me this way. Like whoever I felt was a because I'm an empath, so it's like I take on the energy of people and I have a bleeding heart and I want to help and save the world. I mean, I have a friend who's a real estate agent that he said to me recently, he goes, I always remembered we were at a showing and he goes, and you were so insistent on saving this bug and putting the bug like out the door. Like, you wouldn't kill the bug. And I was like, oh, he remembered that. So it's interesting. I'm just down to that little minuscule, little tiny bug. I just want to save everybody or make things better. So I became really conscious of my relationships and people that was close to, even family. It's uncomfortable that sometimes family members you don't realize can be very overwhelming to yourself, or just people try and you know destroy you, or that's what I feel, or to belittle you, or to make you feel less than and not really honor who you are as a person. So I was already in a shift change of making some drastic changes, even with some friendships, relationships, which was hard to do. I always felt like I always had to help everyone, and there was a purpose for every relationship that I have. But as I gotten older, I realized that there is a purpose for every relationship, and sometimes it's to make change too, to make me a better person. So, and in any relationship that I changed, I really would have talked to these people about like why I feel like maybe we're going in a different direction. So that alone was really, really profound. My clients, honestly, it's very different. I'm not spending the holidays with all of my clients. It's like we're not getting together. Like, I don't have to worry about family stuff with clients. Like, we're not intimate in essence, but I really, really enjoy people. I really, really love people. I don't hate anybody. That's one thing I know for sure. I don't hate anybody. I wish people well. I wish them to get better, maybe to get them help they need. But so peace for me is has become really, really personal for me. And with wanting to create peace within myself and, and to take out the chatter and the noise and the suppression and the negativity. So that's a long answer, right? That's really, Mike, I'm sorry. That's a long answer.
It's okay.
So it's like,
Okay.
this is really personal to every single person. And I know for me, it's to really be able to decompress, feel good within my skin, my choices, my decisions. I have love in my heart all day long for anyone and everyone. So as I've gotten older, I realize that I'm really on a good path of, serenity and having that peace within for sure.
Beautiful. Now, in when you defined peace, how do you personally find peace? What brings you peace?
So most people think I'm an extrovert, right? And I think most of my life I have been an extrovert. But over the last couple of years, and I think it's only so this year I'm going to be 53. So I think ever since I turned 50, which was 2020, I've made a lot of changes. And so I think my second half of my life, I'm going to call it, um,
Mhm.
define the peace within it's so personal for me. And it's taking that time to just enjoy the little things. I know it sounds so silly, but I think I was always just so concerned about tomorrow and the next day and wasn't really always able to focus on the day. Just one day at a time, just focus on the day. There's only so much you can do for one day, but not, our yesterdays shape our tomorrows, but today's the day we're living for, so it's like
I
you
love
can't
that.
always, yeah, so it's like you can live in the past. And, I think we live in the past, we're focusing on the future, but we just really need to be present and focus on the day. So I really, really always want to make sure I'm enjoying the day. Yes, I have a calendar, I have all that fun stuff, but I'm really enjoying my day, my time, taking some time for myself. I have a puppy. Well, she's going to be 2 in January. Her name is Sprinkles. I know my Uncle Mike knows her.
Yep.
Yeah, he met Sprinkles when she was an itty bitty baby, and that dog. I'm not. I've had animals my whole life, but I don't know what it is about this dog. She's just. I think it's my later in life puppy, right? She really,
Your empty nest
yeah,
puppy.
it's true. It's like I must be going through some changes, for sure. But it's like she doesn't care what I look like. She doesn't care. She's always happy to see me, but it's like having a baby over all over again. I have to be conscious and aware of what her needs are, but she brings me so much joy and so much peace, and that alone, I guess she really is like an emotional support dog to me. She really, really is, and I just love coming home to my little. I feel bad. I say to my kids, "How's the baby?" If they're watching the dog. They're not babies anymore. They're 22 and 25, but just just enjoying my life is much simpler in so many ways. We have a beautiful home. It's like probably half the size, maybe like more little. It's just smaller than our other house. It's still a big house, but it's a lot smaller. It's less complicated. It's like simpler. Very little landscaping. I know this sounds silly, but to me, it's like I even have less of a wardrobe now. I notice, like, I just want to feel more peaceful because I have a very frantic career in so many ways, which I enjoy. I get that fill, but I come home to my peace, like my house, my wife, my children, my little world. That is my peace. It really, really is. It's just you can create it. You can create your own peace. That that was another long answer.
I'm fine with long answers.
Okay.
You're really you're
Okay.
thinking about the question. You're thinking about, well,
Mhm.
what is it that how do I define peace? And what is it that brings me peace? And now you get to answer, how do you bring peace to others?
How do I what?
Bring peace to others.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of my friends or people that are close to me, I realize that they do reach out to me for advice. I have a cousin who I'm really close with. She lives in Las Vegas, and even though we're far apart, we're very close. And even she and I, We we had lost touch for a very, very long time, and we're our lives are now back together, which is really, really great. But yes, so her and I, we have she's like a sister to me, really. But in terms of like how I bring peace to others, even with my clients, I have to set them up along the way. We're looking for homes and it's fun and all that great stuff, the glamorous part. But, when we're in negotiation phase and when we're in, the contract phase, when things are turning over to the attorneys and we got to worry about appraisals and title and all, it's not so glamorous anymore. And then I have to prepare them for this. And I tell them, even though we're working together, there's a lot more people that are going to come into the process.
Right.
So I really stay in touch with my clients very closely. I want them to feel that, I've done this before, I'm the professional, and I want to create an experience for them that, let's face it, buying a home or selling a home, that's your biggest piece of uh, biggest investment that you may ever buy or sell. So I want the experience to be, I can't use the word peaceful. Can't use that word peaceful. I can't say it's going to be peaceful for them, but I want to create a good experience. And I want to create peace within that process to calm them down, not to jump off a bridge, not to lose it. All those things, not to be frantic. So I'm already anticipating once we find a home that there are going to be problems and there are going to be issues. And they're always, yeah, Sprinkles there. I don't know where she went now. She's running around. Um, but I know there's going to be a problem. There's going to be all sorts of problems. There's not one deal ever that's smooth. So yes, so I feel like I have to be like that. Um, I have to be that person who's going to create peace within the process. Like I said, the whole process is never going to be peaceful, but there are bouts of that craziness that's going to go on. So it's just lending an ear. I'm a really great listener, you know, and I always want them to ask me questions. No questions are silly at all. Um, I don't mind repeating myself over and over if they didn't understand it the first time, because they're not doing this all the time. This is what I do for a living. And it's interesting. Some of the most educated people, don't really understand the real estate process. So, just being a good listener, I think that alone helps me create peace with that. Really, really being intent on listening to what their needs are.
Yes, and, you're being that calm in their storm,
Yes.
and
And
that
then
I think
eventually we'll see the rainbow.
there
At
you
the end
go.
of the sun, right?
Right, and because I personally have never been through buying a home process, buying an apartment process. That's something that things to look forward to, but knowing that it is a stressful process, knowing that
It
it's
can be. It's
not
unknown.
there's a lot going on, and to have somebody who can say, "Okay, this is what we need to do. Calm down. It's not the end of the world."
Mhm.
That is truly a great thing because there are some people who are not like that in your profession.
Yeah, I think we get a bad reputation because just like any profession, there's you could be a professional with whatever you do, and there are just people that are inappropriate, disrespectful. Just there's just some people out in the world, whatever profession it may be, who are just not, there's not a lot of not nice people out there,
Unfortunately,
sadly.
unfortunately. So, aside from real estate, how do you feel you bring peace to others, like your family, your wife, your daughters, your friends? How do you feel you bring peace to them?
So, it's interesting. I was like, what am I going to talk about? But I'm glad you're, giving me some leading questions. I always noticed when my daughters were little, like I said, now they're 22 and 25, whatever issues I had in my life, I always knew that their problems were bigger than mine. Even though in essence I might have had financial issues or just, a uniqueness with people who uh, didn't like, my choices or my relationship. I always felt like as a young girl, as young girls, I always felt like their problems would always be bigger than mine. And as a mom, I always tried to be really, really conscious of that. So to bring peace to their lives and being a good listener and letting them know that they could talk to me about anything. You know, this is a little mom tip for the moms listening out there. I used to say to my daughters that, listen, whatever the problem is, whatever's going on, I don't care if you think you're going to get in trouble for something, you have to tell me. You will not get punished. I promise you will not get punished, but you have to tell me. If you think you're doing something wrong, or you made a bad decision, or you're going to make a bad decision, or or if your friends are doing something wrong, you need to tell me. You have to tell me. You will not get in trouble. I'm not going to lie. They told me things that they really should have gotten in trouble for. They sometimes would tell me things. I'm like, this is terrible. But at least I felt like I created something within them that they felt comfortable enough to talk to their mom almost about anything, to create. So I think that's like to me, that's like creating kind of sort of like a peaceful, like calm feeling. That's just my thought, that it helped them to feel comfortable enough so that they wouldn't have to stress out or be upset. And I have to say, I have a really great loving relationship with my daughters. They're good people. Um, and I have to say, they bring calm to me because I'm probably the one who's like the most hyper in the family. My kids are pretty chill. They really are. They're patient, they're kind, they're thoughtful. And even my wife, still lending an ear to everyone. I think if you listen to people, um, you can make them feel, calm and peaceful and comfortable, because peace is just, it's a feeling also. It's not just this peace in the world, but which is completely, I think, completely, if we would just say there's peace in the world, it's almost unattainable on a certain level. We can create some peace, and some calm. And I think that's really important. So I know with my family, you know, when the pandemic happened, it was frightening. It was absolutely frightening. But we had a really nice ebb and flow in the house. And there was a lot of peace within the house. And, we enjoyed the little things. I think that's, like I said, during that time is when I made a lot of mind shift changes. So I think we got that down pat in the family, peace thing, creating the peace. But with others, like, I'm going to repeat myself, it's really just listening to other people's needs to make them feel more at peace.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, one that kind of trips people up a little bit, but it's like I ask you what's in your toolbox. So it's kind of like, okay, you're going to. I'll give you the best example I can. You're going into closing, and your client is probably freaking out.
Mhm.
This is the sign on the dotted line. Here are your keys, or here's when you can move in moment. That has gotta be very stressful, and while they're trying to keep their composure, you know that they need to calm down. What's in your toolbox? What can you pull out 5 minutes, 10 minutes before that very important
Oh
meeting?
my gosh, this happens a lot. You have no idea. People lose their minds because you're dealing with their money, their finances, their credit. It is a lot. It's a big deal. There's so many levels and layers to the move-in process, just finding a mover. Just if you've ever moved anywhere, it's very daunting, stressful. And honestly, my experience, what I went through, I mean, now I really completely understand what people go through. I had to move twice. We had everything that went on. So, listening, not losing my cool. I don't take things personally. The only thing I'll take personal is if you start cursing at me or calling me names. You could raise your voice. You could scream all you want. You could be angry, as long as you're not belittling or calling me names, we're cool. I rarely lose my cool ever. So it's really listening, understanding what their needs are. And I will tell you, it happens, especially new construction too. People can really lose it, because there's no timeline. There's somewhat of a
Mm.
timeline, but we can't guarantee it. I can't guarantee that the weather is not. It's just so many levels. So yeah, just like I said, I know I repeat myself, being a good listener, and also just breaking down, why do they feel this way? Sometimes people really get upset, but it has nothing to do with the process. It also has to do what's gone on in their life, to make them feel or to get this upset. For me, I'm very fortunate. I've had the craziest family, so I can deal with anybody. Nobody really scares me. I had some like really great, crazy family training. It's like, from a very, very young age. So
Yeah.
I feel like nobody's really bothers me. It's like, so just breaking down to people, letting them know that I don't even know if I'm answering the question properly, but just,
We're gonna circle back
yeah,
now, and what would you tell your client when you're going into closing? So you're listening, you're being peaceful to project that peace and try and bring them peace, but what would you tell them in that moment? What's that one peaceful moment, advice that came out
gotcha.
confusing
No,
for
no, no, I
everybody?
get it. And that's that. Okay. So in that sense, I tell them, I know how you feel. Your feelings are valid. So I use that often. Your feelings are valid. I want them to know what they're feeling is real and that I'm here for them to let them know I'm going to walk you through the process. We're going to get to the finish line. It's going to happen. And like I said, everybody's situation is different and unique. That they can call, text me, email me whenever they want. But, you know, I can't change how they came to feel this way. But I do let them know that their feelings are valid and I really try and break it down. And maybe they should really think about how they're feeling. I don't know why they're as upset as they are, because it does happen. Like I'm having a memory of how upset some people have gotten. And I tell them, let's take a break and let's talk in an hour. Let's just talk in an hour. Because there's certain things that are completely out of our control, but because there's so many people involved. But I do want to always validate their feelings.
Beautiful, beautiful. And what is one piece of advice you can offer everyone watching now and in the future when it comes to finding and being peaceful?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I have a coach. Um, I also have a therapist too, so which I'm not ashamed to say, and for different reasons. And you know, I think that you have to find what works for you. You don't have to be like everybody else. Like I know for me, this is going to sound silly, but I recently started doing puzzles. That's like a new kind of thing to like decompress. Um, I think watching TV, that's not really finding peace or decompressing.
No, it can stress you out.
Yeah, because so it's like, and I'm really I this is I have to say I really don't have any hobbies. I really don't have any hobbies, but for me it's just like I do meditate. Not as often as I should. I'm also very spiritual, so I have a spiritual class too that I attend. So that alone makes me feel at peace. Everybody's different and unique. I can never be, I'm the only me I'll ever be. So, I have to embrace my perfect uniqueness. And I think that's become a later in life thing for me to feel more comfortable within my skin. So it's not just one thing that creates peace and coming home every night, sleeping in my own bed, feeling just comfortable in my own home and knowing I can make changes whenever I want. Peace is not just not equate to money. Peace is not is it's something within. It's not anything money can buy, but to me, I feel like people really need to know it's okay that I used to get upset that I don't really have a lot of hobbies. I actually have none. I really don't have any hobbies, but it's just feeling comfortable in my own skin, and I like to go bowling. I know this sounds silly, like I'm really simple in so many ways, even though I'm a very complex thinker and I am on the hyper side, but just just being peaceful within is so important. But I can't tell anybody what's going to work for them. You have to kind of really dig deep and see what's something that you enjoy that doesn't cost any money. So many things that we can enjoy that has nothing has doesn't
Nothing to
even
do with
equate
money.
to
Yep,
anything. It can be very minimal. All right, I buy puzzles, so that's a little bit of money. But it's just really just honing into feeling comfortable in your own skin.
beautiful. Thank you, Jen. I appreciate your sharing that with us and taking time out of your busy morning on a Sunday to talk with us about peace and real estate and the whole it can be crazy. It's
Mhm.
just in general, but finding those moments and calming us all down. Thank you.
Janice, you have always been such a pleasure to be around. When I first met you, I remember you telling me that you're the quiet healer. I was like, oh my, I love that name. That is so unique and cool. No, I don't think anyone's ever going to call me quiet. But I love that about you. And when I met Mike, when he first introduced me to you, you exude such love and just like confidence. And you could see you're really grounded and you just exude positivity. And I don't know, I just, there's something about you that I felt so connected with you. And I thank you for inviting me today. So thank you so much.
Beautiful. I'm gonna put Jennifer in the, green room, and I'll be right back. Thank you guys for joining us this morning as we talk to Jennifer Nyx. Next week, we will be joined by April. She is a massage therapist. She is part of my Pocono family, which we love the Pocono family. Everybody there is peaceful, extremely peaceful in a very chaotic environment. So, we're going to learn about what brings her peace on a day to day basis. So, thank you all for joining me and Jennifer this morning. We want to wish you a great rest of your day.